Welcome to Not So Random Chat, the nighttime live stream where we talk about whatever we want to. So, settle in and grab you a libation. It could be your wine or tea or coffee or whatever you want to drink. And let's just sit back and chill. I'll be with you in a moment. Are you guys ready? Okay, well, so am I. So let's get into it. Here I come. Hola, from the west side. Happy Friday. Hey, Poetic Kale, sis. Happy Friday, sis. All right, so I've been over here doing housework and stuff because my son is gone, so I'm just gonna say excuse that I didn't get all dolled up to come on camera. It's all good. All right, let me come on camera. All right, here we go. Yeah, and then I have all my army fatigues, if y'all can see. But of course, I have my glass of wine tonight. We are drinking a Stella. This is the blueberry. I have the blueberry tonight. Let me take a sip. Now, normally on Fridays, I add another one of my platforms, and I usually will simulcast on YouTube and maybe Facebook or on Twitter. But tonight I'm just going to keep it on YouTube because I don't say if I let a couple of bad words slip out, I don't want that to go over on Facebook and my pastor see it, y'all. Let me just be real. Hey, Terry. Oh yeah, I gotta. This is your new page, Terry. Hey, Six Figures. Yeah, for your business. So, I don't know if you guys saw my post earlier today in regards to autism moms on the platform, fighting, dragging each other, whatever you want to call it. And, I really don't care about that part. Grown women. But what I have a problem with is when y'all pull the person with autism into the middle of it. Be they a little child, be they a big child, be they a grown child. Like, or that you allow other people, allegedly, let me just put that part out there, allegedly, to come into your chat or to come up on your panel and to say things in regards to someone else's child that's on the spectrum. Now, y'all know I have to just, I'm trying to hold my tongue because I just want to say some things, but I'm just going to, namaste. Namaste. Okay. So, let's talk about this. People having their child diagnosed early. Now, it depends on, let me just say this, depending on what state you are in, you might have to jump through a whole bunch of hoops, especially if you live in a minority area or a lower income area of said state. And autism, although now it qualifies, let me just put that in quotation marks, qualifies for medical insurance coverage, still is not something that a medical doctor can give the diagnosis for. It is something that must be diagnosed or assessed, rather, through a psychological assessment. Which, by the way, my son is going to get another one from the Social Security Department next week, so they can make sure that he still qualifies and that he's not tricking them. They went out over here running game about him having autism, as an adult. Okay, but back to being diagnosed with autism. Getting a diagnosis of autism is not easy at any age. It is expensive to get the psychological assessment. And not every state has it so that parents can get that psychological assessment done. And not all parents want to get the actual autism label on their child. Regardless of whether it means that their child will be eligible for Social Security if the parent themselves makes under a certain amount. My son, as you guys know, never qualified for Social Security until he was actually 18 because I made too much money and his father made too much money. You have to be making low income for your child to get the Social Security payments if they're under the age of 18. The FYI. But there are some parents that may not be ready
to get that actual diagnosis for their child, or they may be going through the process. You don't know what's going on. But I like how people are on here judging how other people are being parents to their children on the spectrum. Like, you know better of how they're supposed to deal with their child with autism than they are. Like, for example, child is in the background hollering, and you may think that they're in distress. The parent may know that that's not what's going on, because some children on the spectrum do all that hollering and all that. It's part of their coping mechanism. But, every parent on this platform is an expert on all children with autism, right? Right? I don't think so. The only person with autism that I am an expert on is my 26, almost 27-year-old son. And I know more about him than anybody else does besides him in regards to how he operates. But the reason that they call it autism spectrum is because in actuality, when you've seen one person with autism, you've seen one person with autism, because each person with autism has their own, however, their neurons are firing is not the same as someone else with autism's neurons are firing in their brain. That's why they call it a spectrum, because no two people have the exact same symptoms or tendencies within their quote unquote autism. When my son was born, they said that it was 1 in 10,000. That was in 1995. It is now less than 30 years later, and it is now 1 in 45. So the interesting thing about when my son was diagnosed with autism, back in the 1 in 10,000 days, is that I met hundreds of other children and parents that were in the same age range as my son. So what were all of them that 1 in 10,000? I mean, that's highly unlikely, since how many people are on this planet? 2-3 billion. So clearly, the odds of getting autism in 1995 was not right. And probably what is said today is probably closer to accurate. But one of the things with getting the diagnosis of autism that I have said time and time again, it is not easy for someone who is a person of color to get the diagnosis. Because no matter the fact that more of our children, unfortunately, have autism than, the people who think that they're the majority, That's still the face of autism to them. Which is, like one of the reasons why, I have a channel on here, because I wanted to put a face that was different, for all these people that are out there that, there've been, Black children and Latino children getting autism. They just haven't been the face that they want you to see, because with the diagnosis comes money, funding, things that you as the parent don't have to pay for your child. The state where you live is responsible either through the education system or, for things that are not part of education or during the education years are funded by the state. Like the job program that my son is getting ready to go into. Part of the money that, is being paid for him to get this job training, the state is paying for it. He doesn't pay anything. They're going to come to his house, pick him up for work in the morning, and drop him off in the afternoon after work. And he's going to get a paycheck because he's going to be learning, job skills. Those are things that, my son is eligible for because he falls under the actual diagnosis of autism. But I also know, I know several people who have kids who are clearly on the spectrum, and they've never had them diagnosed. They've always been in mainstream classes. They just, in one case, I felt it was denial, but thankfully, their son is more aspy. So there wasn't any verbal issues or anything going on with him, and he was able to keep up. He's very, very smart. And so maybe in that case, it was the right decision, but with or without the actual diagnosis of autism, does that make someone not have autism just because they don't have the actual diagnosis by a professional? Does that mean that they don't have it? That's the dumbest shit, because here's the thing. The person who was kind of making this kind of statement, well, I know that they don't have, that she hasn't even gotten the diagnosis. Okay, just because the mother hasn't got the diagnosis, hasn't got the official diagnosis for their child, doesn't mean that they're not doing the things that they need to be doing or trying to do things that they need to be doing for their child while they're waiting on that actual diagnosis, or if they don't get that diagnosis. Because as I said before, it's not that easy to get it. Even if you have a child who's nonverbal, I promise you it's not. Even if your child is nonverbal, banging their head on the wall, you still won't necessarily get the correct diagnosis of autism. It's crazy. But see, that's why it surprised me that this particular person made these comments, because it was like they don't know what this person has been doing, all this time, that they weren't actually, quote unquote, on YouTube. And, the other thing that also really pissed me off is that an autism mom allegedly said that the reason another mom's child has autism is because they were using drugs. Hey, Queen of the South. Well, then that would mean that I guess I was using drugs because my son has autism. Toni Braxton was using drugs because her son has autism. Holly Robinson Peete was using drugs because her son has autism too. Okay? And I'm sure that Areva Martin, the lawyer who also runs the Special Needs Network here in LA, and would be interested to know that she must have been doing drugs because she has a son with autism as well. Do you see how stupid that sounds? Drug use has nothing to do with children having autism. Because most mothers that I know, or parents, fathers, saw that there was changes in their children. Up to a certain point, everything was normal. They were meeting their milestones. All of those things were going according to, what is expected. And in a lot of cases, the children were exceeding those milestones. But autism is not that easy to diagnose as you may think, when you're on the other side of it, of getting that actual diagnosis. Because as I said, I'm sorry, y'all, I'm over here glowing. Let me fan myself. And all of this is off the dome. Everything that I'm saying is off the dome, on my facts and figures. I don't know. Almost 27 years. Okay. But knowing that it's hard to get the diagnosis of autism, I know that from when my son got the diagnosis of autism. That was not an easy process. Even though me looking back, knowing what I know, about my son and about autism now, it was clear that he had autism. He was losing his words, and it took a long time for him to get his words back. So, what I believe is that something in the way that autism affects people gets into that part of the brain that deals with the auditory communication. Because the words are inside their head, they ain't coming out to you or me. Or they're coming out as gibberish to us. Let me see what you guys are saying, because y'all know when I'm on a rant, because I did warn that I was going to talk about something else, but when there's 11-hour lives overnight and multiple lives over the last few days, and just the going back and forth, I'm just, yeah. You bringing the children into it. You saying all this crazy shit about how a child got autism. Yeah, I'm good. Just don't. And for the record, I support both of these ladies because I support moms. I support autism moms. Yeah, so that's what you guys are saying. Especially Black autism moms. One of your brothers so severe. Dyslexia is very hard to get diagnosed too. Exactly, Queen of the South. It is a very large spectrum. And one of the things that you may see or you may hear in the background when you have a mother that has a child with autism that is younger, you're going to hear them making noise. You're going to hear them having tantrums, autism tantrums. Hell, my son has had tried to have meltdowns when I was first coming online and doing my live stream. And he's in his 20s. And he would be trying to have a meltdown while I was online. Now, because I knew what was about to happen, and the fact that I did not want that to be broadcasted out onto the internet, because I come on screen, I would shut my lives down. But that's me. Other people who are on here, the kids, and they're showing their life, or they're, bringing part of their life. You're going to hear the kids in the background. You're going to hear a kid with autism making all kinds of noise that might sound like they're in distress. But y'all don't really know what was going on. And I know we're assuming, or we're making the assumption that said mother is, was on a manic high last night. I wouldn't say that is necessarily the case, knowing the sleepless nights myself had when I was, raising my son, to make sure that he didn't go do something, or to make sure things were cool with him. Especially if they tripping and he won't go to sleep. If he don't go to sleep, nobody went to sleep. So it's not odd, from that perspective. And it's funny how people, why are people making assumptions on who was doing what in this girl's house while she was on 11-hour live, considering the fact that she don't come on here very often. She was on here for 11 hours because somebody talked about her son. that's what her problem was about. I'd have a problem with it too. Now, I know y'all keep saying, oh, well, this is the beef sector. But if your beef is with that person, why are the kids being brought in? What her child's doing, or her, her as a mother have to do with what the heck y'all are talking about? And if I'm not mistaken, hell, Rita hadn't been on here for quite some time. She was doing whatever she was doing. I say keep it on the people and not on children, because I don't think she jumped back on him until somebody started talking about her child. And then, of course, doing her 11-hour live, she did, during the times that I was in there, she did, share some of the things that she's doing with her son right now. But I'm glad she didn't tell y'all more than that. Think what you want. It's none of your business how she's handling her child's autism. I tell you, that's the thing with us Black folk. We got the most to say about how somebody else is raising their child. I'm not on here all day because I'm not on here all day. Y'all might see me in people's chats, but I'm not live. There's a difference. You see what I'm saying? I'm not live all day because this is not my job, but I don't do it for free. This is a monetized channel and this is a monetized video. But, the longest live that I've ever done is, I think, a 5-hour live. And that was when I was trying to get my watch hours. And from that point on, I said I was never going to be doing no lives that are that long, because not that I can't go on for 5 hours, but who's going to watch a 5-hour live on replay? People red ball through those long ass lives. So I keep it to an hour, say what I gotta say, and then I'm outie. But I ain't hating on her for being on here for 11 hours. Somebody was talking about her kid, so she felt the need to say what she had to say. And I hear both of you guys saying that you were both each other's biggest champion in the past. I heard you both say that. Honestly, I don't even know what the issue is between y'all. But let's keep the kids out, ladies. We have Rita running shit over here, and we have Reed, the heart of Philadelphia, over here. Both autism moms. Regardless of whether Rita's son is diagnosed yet or not. She recognizes that her son has autism, and she is getting him help. But it's not easy to get everything in place. It is not a lickety split process. It isn't. I had to fight for years. And shouts out to my PhD in pathology sorors, who came to multiple IEPs for my son, so that my son had speech therapy all the way until he was in high school from a non-public source, the Los Angeles Speech and Language Center, which is run by 2 Black women with PhDs in speech pathology, who also happen to be members of Delta Sigma Theta. But keeping services in place is a freaking job. And getting them is a job. And it is not a lickety-split process. You know, instead of commenting on the fact of whether or not this girl has or has not gotten the quote-unquote official diagnosis of autism for her child, come in on the fact that she is doing the things that she needs to do for her kid. And let me just say something. Maryland is not one of the most autism-friendly states. It's not. How do I know this? Not just because I'm from there, but because one of my godchildren, my goddaughter, lived, I think she moved to Virginia now, but was living in Maryland. Maryland was giving her all kinds of issues. I think her daughter was in school, and she was still fighting to get the autism diagnosis. Her mother, one of my best friends, was really at the point that she was begging her daughter to allow her to bring her to California so that they could because she knew California was better. So Maryland is not I don't know as much about what's going on in Pennsylvania. I know someone who has a child on the spectrum in Pennsylvania as well. And I know that she's able to get in-home support services money, even though she told me that they have like a waiting list there. I don't know if they have that in Maryland. We don't know if they have that in Maryland to help her with him. We also don't know what the process, of getting the psychological assessment is in Maryland. But from what my friend told me, it's a freaking nightmare. Because I know that my goddaughter's child has autism. She's like, better now, but at the time she was closer to severe autism and was nonverbal. And yeah, they were going through the ringer in Maryland, and this was in the 2000s. This was in the 2000s. So different states, it is different in different states when you're dealing with autism and getting the assessment. So do not go by your own experience in a completely different state. But as a autism mom, even if you've tried to help someone and they haven't taken your help, the we as autism moms, it is not, we know that we should not be out here judging how another autism mom is raising their child. If you're not seeing any type of, quote unquote, child endangerment going on, and we don't know whether someone is really using substances or not. As I said, you can be up for 11 hours when you're dealing with a kid on the spectrum, because they up, so you're up. Now, back when my son was younger, I wasn't doing YouTube, but when YouTube came around, my son was almost a teenager at that point, because YouTube came around in 2009, and when I started my channel, it was 2011, and he was 15. He was already a teenager. But I had time for YouTube at that point, because I was still trying to get him to college, or out of high school, just to get him to pass high school. That's what I was trying to do. I'm still believing that one day my son is going to be able to go to a college, even if it's a community college. I'm still believing that. But autism does not end at age 18. And yes, the earlier you get a diagnosis for it, yes, that is so much better for the child. But as I said, even with my son was given the quote unquote conditional diagnosis at age 2.5, 3, but they don't actually give you an official. They're not actually said to be actually autistic if they are not still, like in an IEP when they get into school. Because some kids with the early intervention, even though they are on the spectrum, are able to just go into mainstream. They're never in special education. And they may, because if your child is able to acclimate up to a certain point, sometimes even though they may have been given a diagnosis of autism, they'll take it away from them. Sometimes they'll take it away, even though they still have autism. They just take it away from them, so they can get the funding and, whatever. For school, for educational purposes. That doesn't mean that the person doesn't still have autism. It just means that they're able to mask it and they're able to get through. My son can't mask his autism. It's clear he has autism. But some people on the spectrum are able to mask it at some point. I would love it if he would be able to mask certain things just so for him. You know what I mean? Not because I have an issue with him being different, but because it will be easier for him in social settings. That part. So let me see something. I'm trying to see. I don't know, where did I download it to? Let's see if I can find it. See if it's on here. think I downloaded it on here. Oh, it's just. All right, let me see. Is it on here? Let me see which one is the right one. Let's see if I can read this. Okay. So I'm gonna give you guys a sneak peek. So this is an excerpt from the book I'm writing, you guys. Give y'all like a couple of paragraphs. The book I'm writing is called Raising Up David, A Parent's Perspective on Raising the Gifts and Talents of Her Autistic Son. So I'm going to give you guys a little bit of what I put in the first chapter. Okay. Chapter 1, Loving My Special Child. This sounds so simple, doesn't it? Many times, however, it is not so easy when many times we are blaming ourselves for what our child is going through. We may even think that God is somehow punishing us for our past transgressions. This is all nonsense and only hampers us in showing our children love. That love comes through self-love and not self-blame. My son David was diagnosed with autism when he was 2 years old. Before that diagnosis, outside of him being generally very quiet, his father and I had no clue that anything was wrong. He was very expressive and very affectionate, and still is. All of which is atypical for autism. None of the classic symptoms had been evident. I am the daughter of a physician, so I, of course, made sure that we were watching the developmental stages. But I was not looking for autism. I didn't even really know much about it outside of what I had seen in the movie Rain Man with Dustin Hoffman. In the movie, Dustin plays a man suffering from what was identified in the movie as Asperger's syndrome, which falls under the autism spectrum, but had not always been considered as autism in many camps. Like myself, my son walked early at 10 months old and either was on target or early in his developmental stages. When we were given the initial diagnosis by his pediatrician, we knew she must be mistaken because he was not showing the typical symptoms. So that's just a little snippet. That's just a little snippet from my book. Just wanted to give you guys a little bit. gave y'all a little sneak preview of it. But see how long we've been on here. We want to be, yeah, we been on here. See, I could easily talk about autism for a whole freaking hour. You know, I can easily talk about it for an hour. And, you know, there's other stuff that I could have been talking about, but what I saw, you know, it just saddens me. And then the fact that one of the autism moms allegedly, I'm going to keep it at alleged, y'all know why, allowed people to come on her platform and drag the other one's child, and you know, and of course, and then of course, then when her child was brought into the mix, or she by people, then she's crying. You know, come on now. You if you have children who have a disability, what the fuck are you doing allowing people to come on your live streams, in your chats, and say things about somebody else's child who has a disability, diagnosed or not diagnosed? Like, what? What's wrong with y'all? I mean, they're already looking at, you know, everybody on here crazy anyway. That's, you know, black. You know, but now y'all are bringing, you know, autism into the middle of your bullshit. Like, really? Do the dragging. That's fine. Don't. That shouldn't even be part of it, you know? Because what does that have to do with what you two are having an issue with each other about? Not a goddamn thing. Not a goddamn thing. That's what it's. So I'm like, you know, and I'm like, you didn't like your child being brought into stuff when people were making fun of how your son was talking. So why would you not expect her to feel some kind of way about people talking about her small child? That don't even make sense to me. I feel some kind of way y'all say something about my son and he's a grown man. Because although he comes on here and says, hi, YouTube and everything, he's not on YouTube. Y'all don't see him firing up a live. So I would take personal offense if somebody says something in regards to my son. I didn't already said he has autism. You don't have to come through here. You got a problem with seeing my son on my channel? Move the fuck on. That part. Yeah. And anybody who has issues with people who have their children with autism in the background, or with any other type of disability in the background, if you have kids and you're on YouTube, your kids are generally you're going to hear them in the background unless you got them locked in a closet or something. Y'all hear my grown son, you know, unless I happen to be in the studio, and he'll come in there, Bogart's into there. The only time you don't hear him is when he's not here, like right now. He ain't here. People on the spectrum make noise, or they don't. They're either making noise or they're silent. My son sings. He's always singing. It's his gift. So, That's why y'all always hear him in the background humming. He has perfect pitch too. Amazing. But I'm getting ready to get out of here. I do have content that I am trying to get, up over the weekend. One of them is 99% done, believe it or not. And that's the video from last weekend that I did last weekend. That one is, almost all I have to do is drop the music, the background music onto that one. And, just make sure my voiceover is loud enough. I got some cute stuff last weekend too. I might actually go back to one of those stores tomorrow because there were some pants that I saw that y'all will see in the video, but I don't have nothing to wear them with. But who cares? They're cute. They're like black pants, and they have like my whole side of my leg is gonna be out because it's just got these bands going across on the sides. But they go really good with that top, one of the tops that I got. They go really good with one of the tops that I got. But I'm gonna get off of here. I will be dropping content. I may come live tomorrow. I may come live at some point tomorrow. Yeah. Right now it's kind of quiet in the YouTube streets. I like that. But I know that it's just the quiet before the storm because young niggas is about to cut the fuck up. I know y'all are. So, but I think, I may come live tomorrow, but it'll definitely be. If I come live tomorrow, I have to decide because I'm going to be doing some pampering of myself tomorrow. Get my nails done in the morning. I'm taking these braids out, and I'm going to wash the gray out. Wash the gray out. Y'all can't see it, but it's there. Wash that gray out, and I'm gonna braid it. I'm gonna braid it again. But I think I'm gonna use curlier hair this time. Still gonna use the human hair because for the moment I'm not gonna be using the synthetic hair simply because I don't want to have all that weight on my head, on my actual hair. So this is less weight. These are also easier to get out of my hair. All I gotta do is wet them, and these suckers slide out. They'll be sliding out. So it's like a 30-minute process, even though there's probably somewhere close to 200 braids in my hair that I did myself. So I'm gonna do that probably tomorrow. So if I come on tomorrow, I might not come on camera. Because I may come on, while I'm, in the middle of my beauty stuff. I don't know. But we'll see. But I will be trying to get these videos up for y'all. Trying to get these videos up. And a spoken word sometimes that I wrote. Trying to get that one up this weekend as well on my other channel, the Purple Diva Den, because I have been neglecting her. I have been neglecting her, and I have to give her some love. And I got to give, people who like spoken word some love. And it's on the other channel. But you guys, I've been running my DC mouth for long. Y'all see how fast I talk? That's an East Coast thing. That is definitely not a Cali thing. They do not talk that fast out here. All right, let me get my outro. Where is it? Okay, there it is. All right, you guys. I will see you guys until the next time. I offer you guys peace and blessings from the West Side. Thank you for hanging out with me. I know everything's open. People are out. Y'all can be anywhere, but hanging out in the chat with me. Thanks to you guys who come through on the replay. I'll see you guys in these YouTube streets. Y'all be safe. And I'm out. Peace.
Well, guys, that's it for tonight's Not So Random Chat. But I'll see you guys the next time. Until then, peace and blessings from the West Side. I'm out. Peace.